All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into a problem that is way more common and honestly way more damaging than you'd probably guess. We're talking about overfilling your car's transmission fluid. It sounds so simple, right? But getting it wrong can get you into some seriously expensive trouble.
You know that old saying, can you have too much of a good thing? Well, when you're working on your car, you're usually thinking more is better, especially with fluids. But what if I told you that in this one specific case, being just a little too generous could be a massive, massive mistake?
And there it is. That's the hard truth. You see, inside the super complex, high pressure world of your car's transmission, a little too much of a good thing isn't just kind of bad, it's the first domino to fall in a very, very expensive chain reaction. Let's dig into what that actually looks like.
So let's get specific here. What exactly is an overfill condition? It's not just about the fluid being a tiny bit above the max line on your dipstick. The real problem kicks in the second you start the engine. Okay, now this analogy here is just perfect. Think about what happens when you whip egg whites. They go from this dense, clear liquid into a big, airy foam. Well, that's exactly what happens to your transmission fluid. The spinning gears inside start churning up that excess fluid, pumping it full of air until it becomes this bubbly, useless froth.
So you might be wondering, how on earth would I even know this is happening deep inside my transmission? Well, the good news is your car will definitely start sending out some distress signals. You just have to know what you're looking for. So let's talk about these telltale warning signs. If you pull out that dipstick and the fluid looks like a strawberry milkshake, all foamy and bubbly, that's a huge red flag. You might also feel your car kind of struggling with really harsh shifts, or maybe you notice the engine revving up for no reason. And if you start seeing puddles under your car or smell something burning, that's probably that foam being forced out of the system and hitting your hot exhaust.
And this, right here, this is the absolute core of the problem. That foam is the root of all the evil. And here's why. Your transmission fluid has two absolutely critical jobs: lubricating all the moving parts and carrying away heat. And that aerated, foamy fluid, it fails miserably at both. It's like trying to cool your engine with steam instead of water. It just can't get the job done. So here's a good practical rule of thumb for you. When your transmission is hot and you check the dipstick, if that fluid level is more than a quarter inch above the hot or max line, it's really time to take action. Yeah, some might say half an inch, but a quarter inch is for sure the safest bet to stay out of trouble.
Now, those symptoms we just talked about, they aren't just minor annoyances. Nope, they're the early warnings of a much, much bigger problem. Now we're going to connect the dots and see how that harmless-looking foam can lead to some catastrophic mechanical damage.
This chart shows that domino effect perfectly. So it all starts with that aerated fluid, right? It can't cool the system anymore, so the transmission starts to overheat. At the same time, that foamy fluid can't build up the hydraulic pressure you need to shift gears. That's why you feel all that slipping and those harsh shifts. And finally, all that extra volume has to go somewhere, so it puts a ton of stress on your gaskets and seals until they just give up, causing some really damaging leaks.
All right, I know, that all sounds pretty grim. But here's the good news. If you catch this problem early, it is absolutely fixable. You don't have to resign yourself to a massive repair bill just yet.
Okay, before you do anything else, if you even suspect an overfill, stop the car. Seriously, the longer you drive, the more you're just churning that fluid and risking damage. Then find a nice level spot and double check that fluid level. But make sure you follow your car's specific procedure. Engine on or off, in park or neutral, it matters.
Now, if you want to fix this yourself, you've basically got two options. Siphoning is by far the easiest and safest way to go. You can get a simple, cheap hand pump or even a turkey baster with some tubing and just pull small amounts of fluid out through the dipstick tube until the level is right. The other way is draining from the pan, but that's a lot messier. And hey, not all cars even have a convenient drain plug. And let's be totally clear here. If you're not comfortable with either of those methods, the best, most stressful solution is to just take it to a professional. They can do a fluid service, and that way you know for sure that the level is perfect and that the fluid itself is still in good shape. So, this all leads to the most crucial point. The absolute best way to fix an overfill is to prevent it from ever happening in the first place. And that all comes down to one golden rule: learning how to check your fluid level correctly. Think of this slide as your cheat sheet for getting it right every single time. And the number one rule, I really can't stress this enough, is to read your owner's manual. Every single car is different. One might need to be hot and in park, another might need to be running in neutral. Getting that procedure right is everything. And one last pro tip, always aim for the middle of that dipstick range. It gives you a nice buffer, and it's the safest way to avoid an overfill. So, we'll leave you with this final thought. It takes, 5 minutes to properly check your transmission fluid? A whole new transmission can cost $5,000, maybe more. When you put it that way, taking a few moments to get it right seems like the easiest decision you could possibly make for your car.